episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde. I am joined alongside my co-host and good friend London Beth. And London, what are we hitting on today?
Nick, today we're going to hit on, I think, the greatest buzz that Bears Twitter has been doing. And I think every single morning when I wake up, I see a new thing, a new quote, a new saying from teammates, from people around the league, from coaches. And that's just about what are people saying out there about Justin Fields, okay? We know we drafted a quarterback in the first round by the name of Mitchell Trubisky. We've had other quarterbacks like Rex Grossman, Jay Cutler, just to name a few. But just the things, yeah, right. But just the things that has been being said by people around the league, even people outside of the Chicago Bears organization about Justin Fields is something that's just such a key topic and such something that we need to look at for a rookie quarterback. And that's what we're going to be hitting on today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited about it. But of course, Nick, before we begin, we got, of course, hear from our sponsor, Higher Level Camps.
Higher Level Camps is the longest running boy and girls AAU basketball program in Wisconsin. Higher Level Camps was established in 1995 by their founder and retired WNBA player, Cheryl Moore. 27 years and counting. For more information, go to www.higherlevelcamps.com. Link in the description and say Just Another Year sent you. We love Cheryl, though she is a Packers fan. But before we begin, happy 4th of July to everybody. London and I are, I'm in my American flag tank top. He's Hawaiianed out. It's not a 4th of July party without a Hawaiian shirt. So let's get into it. So topic number 1, quote from Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson, whatever you want to name him. Famous Cincinnati's Bengals wide receiver, potential Hall of Famer. This was a quote that a lot of people weren't expecting because Chad Johnson obviously has never been involved with the Bears, but the only connection he really has to the Bears right now is Andy Dalton. But Chad Johnson, quote, Justin, I'm always open, but I'm busy. So Allen Robinson is as well. No matter the play you can call, you can always change it at the line of scrimmage or throw it to him to make year one easier. Chad Ocho Cinco, again, borderline Hall of Famer, giving advice to Justin Fields on how to make his rookie run much more smooth. Yes, he is not starting week 1. That has been confirmed. Andy Dalton is a starting quarterback, but there is a lot of expectation that if Dalton doesn't do well in the first couple games, that Justin Fields will be thrown in there right away. But we do not want to rush this. Most quarterbacks do well in their first year as if they have a good veteran ahead of them, kind of the situation like Patrick Mahomes had with Alex Smith in Kansas City, and he has good targets to pass to. He has multiple wide receivers he can throw the ball to. The Bears are definitely making Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, and even Nick Foles' life easier by giving them a very well-equipped wide receiver group. We hit on that in our last episode, so go make sure you check that out. Wide receiver room is a good problem for the Bears right now. But London, hearing Chad Ocho Cinco, a guy that so many people respect around the league, one of the best trash talkers in NFL history, or at least in our generation, what does that say about a guy reaching out to Justin Fields? Because I don't believe he said anything to Trevor Lawrence, to Kellen Mond, to Trey Lance. I mean, like, a lot of guys weren't talked to, but Justin Fields seems to always be the guy that people are talking about. So, kind of hearing that from Chad Ocho Cinco, what does that kind of say about this whole situation?
Yeah. And just to clarify, Chad Johnson or Chad Ocho Cinco, instead of trash talking, would say he was the greatest showman on the field. But we'll get past that. That's just, his way of trying to get away because he was an amazing trash talker. And we all know it. So I think the really cool thing, Nick, and you alluded to it right there, is just the advice that he's giving a player outside of the program, outside of the organization, outside of everything going on with the Chicago Bears. He's never been a Chicago Bear. He's never, talked about the Chicago Bears. I mean, Chad Johnson wasn't even anywhere near it. I guess Cincinnati and Chicago are relatively, in the same area of the United States, but that's about the closest he's ever got. And he's out there giving, Justin Fields advice saying, hey, I've seen rookie quarterbacks. You know what I mean? I've seen tons of rookie quarterbacks. I'm sure Chad Johnson did. We've seen people like Peyton Manning. We've seen the Tom Brady's. We've seen, the Patrick Mahomes. We've seen all these great quarterbacks come through the NFL. 9 times out of 10, they do struggle their first year. But the ones, and I will allude to this, the ones like Justin Herbert last year who have a bona fide number 1, wide receiver,
yes,
and a veteran on their team, usually 9 times out of 10 have a little bit more success, don't throw as many interceptions. Because guess what? If Justin Fields is running for his life and Allen Robinson cuts back at the quarterback towards the sideline and catches a really good catch for the first down for even 11 yards, that would be such a big play to Chicago Bears fans. We'd lose our marbles. You know what I mean? So absolutely. That's pretty much what Chad's saying. Is Chad's saying, hey man, you're going to have targets, but in the end, feed Allen Robinson because he will be your best friend. And I love that.
And I'm happy you brought up the situation in regards to quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks who have a good, wide receiver or one or two of them to start their career. They could have a bad offensive line. But as long as they got a target, they know they can throw it up to, and it's likely, 95% chance it's going to get caught, or at least there's going to be somewhat of a play made on it. Think about Aaron Rodgers when he started. Yes, he was put into a very good position with the Green Bay Packers. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and then Brett Favre developed these wide receivers like Donald Driver. But Donald Driver, when Aaron Rodgers started, was in a pretty good spot in his career. I mean, he was still ripping up the league. Greg Jennings was also, helped Rodgers out early in his career.
Jordy Nelson.
I mean, he had a
huge back then.
Yeah, he had a 3-headed monster as a rookie. In his early years, excuse. I just want to keep that open because they were all once at one time in his early career. That's how they won a Super Bowl. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was still, that was 11 years ago. Let's just remember that. Like, it was 11 years ago, Packers fans, that you guys won a Super Bowl.
Packers fans think it was yesterday.
They still, hey, Bears fans can admit 85 happened a long time ago. Let's just say that. But the tables have turned. But anyway, going back to that, I really like that you alluded to that. I think that, Justin Fields is in probably one of the best positions in the NFL right now. Trevor Lawrence is obviously, Jacksonville is going to be a long
process. The Jets, Zach Wilson,
the Niners. I mean, come on now. But, London, I really like the next quote that you have written down. So kind of dive into what we want to talk about next from one of his current teammates, an other rookie.
Yeah. So this was a rookie that was drafted in the same draft as he was, a cornerback out of Oregon, Thomas Graham Jr. And this is what he said, and he was quoted saying this. He said, I never really had a quarterback talk mess back to me, aka, if you don't know what that, talk trash back to me. He said he embraces, speaking of Justin Fields, he embraces the competition and the rip your heart out mentality. Thomas Graham Jr., cornerback out of Oregon, one of the rookies that we drafted.
Not Tony Graham, Thomas Graham. We apologize for our mistake a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, Thomas Graham Jr., cornerback, Oregon. Listen, Thomas Graham played with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, granted, was kind of more of a quiet person. Everybody knows that and stuff like that. I'm sure he's played with quarterbacks, in high school and so on and so forth. To hear coming from corners, because corners, by the way, we know Jalen Ramsey. We've talked about him on the show. If you haven't seen those episodes, please go back and watch them. They're hilarious about, Darnell Mooney and being his dad and everything. Baby stuff.
Still is his dad.
But corners always love to talk trash. I mean, they're one of the best trash talkers in the NFL. I mean, Richard Sherman loves to talk. Jalen Ramsey loves to talk. I mean, the list can go on and on and on through the generations. Back when Deion Sanders played in the league, he was a big trash talker too. He would tell people, you're not going to get a single yard on me every single, play. And that's just what corners do. They come out with this mean kind of dogfight mentality. At least the best ones do. And for him to have that mentality come into practice and come into rookie minicamp and come into OTAs and be getting that same competitive edge from your quarterback is something that you don't see a lot. Okay, I'm doubting Trevor Lawrence acts that way. I'm doubting Trey Lance acts that way. I'm doubting, Zach Wilson, because Zach Wilson, every single photo at the NFL draft looked like he was a child standing around men. No shots to the Jets fans out there.
No shots.
I love you, man. But just this kind of mentality and he kind of was piggybacking off of what Matt Nagy was saying. The whole rip your heart out mentality where Justin is here. And he's here to win. And he has embraced the Chicago culture of just grit and dominance. And and that's what he's bringing to the field. And I love that. I cannot believe, I think one thing about Jay Cutler that I didn't really like was his attitude. You know what I mean? He wasn't really, he talked trash, but he kind of had this mediocre attitude. Mitchell Trubisky kind of had this I'm just, such a hard worker, but like, but he was too nice. Like, I like a quarterback that kind of is a little bit gritty. I know we alluded to Aaron Rodgers, and, I hope that he goes to the Denver Broncos here soon, but like Aaron Rodgers constantly, Brett Favre, I know we talked about constantly, they are very, very trash talky quarterbacks that love to get in the face of middle linebackers and corners and safeties when they burn them, and just love to kind of just mix it up with those guys. And that's what you need as your starting quarterback, especially as a rookie coming into the league, having so much weight on his shoulders, the entire city of Chicago and the entire nation watching him. I think it's great. And I absolutely love this mentality of him.
I could not agree more. I think that's something that the Bears really have missed over the last, couple of decades, is that quarterback that gets in your grill. Kyle Orton, you guys know I'm a big fan of Kyle Orton. I thought that if we never took him out of 2005, they would have won the Super Bowl that year. But anyway, he was too much of a bro. Like, he would just go out and party with the guys, like whatever. Get that. Have a great relationship with their teammates. But when you're at work, like, you're not there to, be friends. You're there to win a championship. And I think Justin Fields is the first quarterback, like you kind of hit on. Mitchell Trubisky was too much like, I'm a hard worker. Too
much of a Boy Scout.
Make everyone else a hard worker too, man. Like, no one wants just one hard worker. So I 150% agree exactly with everything that you're saying about the entire situation. Yeah. Now, one thing that I don't want Justin Fields to do is get on the bad side of anybody. And Matt Nagy's obviously going to defend him. That's his guy. Just needing to be like safe about everything.
Yeah, I agree. And that honestly kind of like transitions really well into the last quote. And this is a quote from Justin Fields, Nick. And I agree. I know we saw like David Montgomery talking to Matt Nagy, how he's getting shelled on the whole like running back 25 and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I was pissed about it. Like, I know there's some high emotions on the Chicago Bears team. And I really, really think that if Justin Fields channels, this anger, this chip on his shoulder, and, if, Thomas Graham Jr. is coming out and saying this stuff, it's really great. But speaking of the chip on the shoulder, and speaking of how Justin Fields is feeling. So we talked about people outside of the organization. We talked about somebody he got drafted with, a rookie that is, his draft brother. Now let's see what Justin Fields is talking about. Okay. And the quote that we just got was, "If I don't believe in it, then it's not going to work out. So my job is to strictly get better, to be the best quarterback I can be and help my team win." Justin Fields, that's a quote of him just a few days ago, or maybe a week ago, right after OTAs. Nick, first off, what's your first impression of that quote? Like, what is the first thing that hits your mind when you hear just strictly to get better and be the best quarterback?
That had me getting like, that blunt Derrick Rose vibes back when he was drafted. He knows what this city needs. And, there's no days off. And I love everything about Justin Fields' mentality in regards to, just being a total workhorse. Like, a fun thing about him is that he's vegan. So he also takes his health very, very seriously. So, he has a good body, good mind. You're going to perform well in the NFL. He wants to win so badly and be the savior of the Chicago Bears organization. I have not felt this type of way about a player since Khalil Mack joined the team. And when that happened, it completely turned around. The energy this team needed is what Justin Fields brings. And I know we brought in Andy Dalton, and we all know, I like Andy Dalton. I think that, we should give him a shot. And it seems like Bears Twitter is slowly starting to go, yeah, let's see what this guy can do. We were hard on him at first because you and I said it, London. Ryan Pace had no options, and there was no guarantee he was getting Justin Fields. So go out and get the best thing that you can get, guaranteed at that moment. And yes, he might have paid a little bit too much money, but it is the NFL. He is a quarterback. You got to get him some dough. But I am such a fan of Justin Fields and the mentality he's bringing to this team. I feel like everyone's getting better. When guys walk around, the Bears have a young core, but they are veterans at the same time. Dave Montgomery has been in the league now for a couple of years. Allen Robinson still isn't even 30 years old, and he's one of the best wide receivers in the game. Cole Kmet is now a seasoned, not a vet, but he's a sophomore. So, he's not got that mentality out of him. Jimmy Graham, the whole offensive line is young and growing. I mean, there's just so much hope. And this guy is like the cherry on top for it.
Yeah, 100%. And the biggest thing, Nick, and I know you kind of alluded to the no days off, he didn't take a vacation this summer. He's been pretty much the moment he's landed in Chicago, if it's the Chipotle commercials, if it's anything, he's all business. He's all working business. Out. He's dominating the weight room. He literally, I know we talked about this in the past thing, walked in to the weight room for the Chicago Bears and said, this is now going to be my home. Like, this is going to be my home. I live here. This is where I am. That's what you want. You don't want, like, we've seen in the past quarterbacks, get drafted and then they take mom and, wife or whatever to Maui and all these other kinds of places. Maybe that's a little shot at Trevor Lawrence there, because literally the moment he signed, in that break, he took his new wife on vacation to, gosh knows where, Mexico or something. And like Justin Fields made it clear. He goes, I have myself, I have my dog, I have a weight room. He goes, that's all I need. He goes, I'm all business. I'm not taking vacations until we win. And this kind of mentality going into training camp really, really excites me for what we're going to see in training camp, what we're going to see in the preseason. And then once he gets his chance, whenever that time may be, what is he going to produce? I agree with you. I am absolutely head over heels in the best way possible for this just mentality that this quarterback is bringing to a team that just needs it. I mean, like you said, Khalil Mack was a great thing, but he's not a vocal guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to trash talk you when he one arm flips a 300-pound dude. He just does that, you know? And Justin Fields is not only just a great athlete, a great person, but now he's just bringing this edge to him. That is just something that I think the Chicago Bears really, really need in a division where, like we alluded to, if Aaron Rodgers is gone, it's up for grabs. I mean, our next competition is the Vikings, and, good old Kirk Cousins and the gang, I'm not too worried about. So I'm very much excited. I mean, this was probably one of the most exciting things, to talk about on a podcast and to bring up, just because the differences. I mean, you hear what people said about Mitchell Trubisky. Like, he's a hard worker, but he needs to work on his mechanics. And, he's a great leader, but, blah, blah, blah. He's a great locker room guy. Justin Fields, it's just like, this dude's here to win. He's here to dominate. He's here, he ain't taking, from no one. And that's exactly what I want out of my starting quarterback.
I agree. And a guy that knows he's going to switch around this organization, and he's already done that, in my opinion. He has already brought a whole new mentality to the Chicago Bears, the fan base, and everything else that's going on. So, what a way to enter the 4th of July weekend.
Have fun, everybody.
Have fun, everybody. From this episode of Just Another Year Chicago, my name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside my good friend and co-host London Beth. Have a great 4th of July. Be safe, and we will see you guys next time.